There you go. Well, it is March already, and we're just getting close to this full moon eclipse energy, which is pretty intense for everyone. But we still chose to kind of have an amazing conversation. And I've got Hailey Krakana here, who she's living in Victoria, BC, where she's got spring already and
Mm.
getting the blooms. We're still in the snow up north, but Hailey is the seeker of the wild and untamed. She loves to spend time in nature and travel and be a bit of a gypsy, using her photography and capturing everything from women in nature to rodeo and the high energy of that, and also really loves the kind of that old, black and white, listening to the crackling radio and the old records and all these kinds of things. So she's started really early, kind of with her mom, and giving that inspiration with the camera in her hand at a really young age, and living in nature up north, and just really was really guided by that, and really followed her intuition as far as diving into her passion and her purpose, and sharing her stories through the visual arts. And she holds a degree in arts from the University of Victoria, and she's really focused on kind of that history and the artistic movement and pieces. So, and we'll dive into those details a little bit more. And she's a lover of all things in nature and horses and animals and textures and the wildness and all great things. So, and kind of does everything from, weddings and elopements, and really customized fun stuff. And yeah, so I have her here today because I've also got her as a beautiful guest coming to one of my retreats on the Sunshine Coast in April. And I
Mhm.
just wanted you guys to get to know who she is and what she's about, and the gifts that she offers the world. So Hailey, take it away. Let's have a little bit more pieces of your journey.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. First of all, that was an amazing introduction. I feel famous.
Woohoo!
So thank you for that. Um, yeah, I don't know. Where do you want me to get started? I mean, I can kind of start from the beginning. I feel like
Yeah,
chronologically that might make the most sense.
let's do
Um,
it.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, when I started photography, I was mostly working with just wildlife photography. I never imagined that I would be doing portraits one day. Like when I started, I was pretty young. I think I stole my camera from my mom when I was about 7 or 8 years old. And we lived out in such a beautiful on an acreage. We had about 10 acres. So I could kind of just wander around and see everything. Like there were wolves, bears, moose, deer, just all sorts of, northern Canadian wildlife. Um, and then it wasn't until I was maybe 14 years old that I started photographing people. The first human being I photographed was, um, do you know the band Korn? They're a metal band. It's really
Yep.
random.
Yep.
Yeah, so I went to a music festival and I met Brian Welch from Korn, and I took photos of him. I used to be a little metalhead back in those days. I've been all over the place. Um, but yeah, the photos turned out amazing, and they used those on their website and on their social media, and that really got me started. And I realized, like, hey, this is something I can do, and not only portrait photography, but events and music.
Yeah.
And so that kind of got me started on. I shot a lot of festivals. From the festivals, I worked with a lot of musicians, artists. I started getting into more like artist promo work, so a lot of creative portraiture. Some of that got used for album artwork, which was really cool because, like, seeing a photo you took on an album, especially a vinyl, is just it's amazing. It's like the first moment I felt like I was truly an artist when I saw somebody, printing my work for their albums. Um, yeah, and then from there, I kind of just dove in to doing different types of portraiture. I really like the creative work. I used to be terribly obsessed with indie films. I wanted to be a director at do you know the Sundance Music Festival or the Sundance
Yes.
Film Festival?
Yep.
Yeah, so that was always my dream. I just imagined I would make some indie film, and I mean, who knows, maybe one day I will. Um, but yeah, just that's the style. I really like those stylized indie films.
Mhm.
And then I love directors like Wes Anderson, just people who kind of have this really crazy, big, quirky vision that's like so unique. And if they tried to explain it to someone before they created it, you'd think they were crazy, and maybe they are. um,
Yeah.
but I just find it so inspiring. Somebody takes this kind of idea that they see in their mind's eye, and then you run with it. So I do a lot of that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so neat how, you just really showed up and kind of trusted that journey, and you allowed it to just lead you in all these amazing, directions, whether, you're on the road living out of your camper, or you're chasing wild horses, all of these things. And it's just it's you're really allowing that direction just to kind of unfold in front
Hmm.
of you. And going those paths that are less traveled, traveling those little windy dirt roads, and just going, I don't know where it's going to lead, but somewhere cool.
Hmm.
And you're not afraid to do that. And I feel like that's probably where you're really allowing yourself to dive into that really raw creativity, and seeing that in others. Like you said, others might think they're crazy, but you certainly didn't. You're like, come on, let's go. I'm hopping on this train too, right? So that's just led you in just so many directions. Like, I know you've traveled, you love like all kinds of landscapes and all kinds of, I mean, all kinds of, fun and playful personalities. But, what is it with the travel that really brings magic to your art?
Oof, that's a really multifaceted question there.
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
whatever.
I kind of got hung up on when you just quoted Robert Frost, and then I was thinking about
Yeah.
during my degree, I studied a lot of literature. And
Mhm.
so a lot of my work, if you really dive into kind of like the symbolism and imagery I use, like a lot of that is literary allusion. Um, but one of my biggest inspirations during my degree was Jack Kerouac. And I read On the Road, and I got really into the whole beatnik movement. And this was back when they had Greyhound buses. So I would kind of hop on the
Yeah.
Greyhound bus and just kind of travel around BC. Um, but I don't know. Have you read that book?
No, I haven't. I might have to be doing that.
Yeah. So one thing I really like about that book is he has these beautiful poetic descriptions of just all the different landscapes he sees. And he kind of talks about, just like waking up in a different town, a different state, a different country, and just everything is completely different. Like the way the sunrise looks on that landscape's different. The way the sun sets, in the desert versus on a mountaintop versus on the prairies.
Yeah.
It's just those little things. I just appreciate them so much because when you live somewhere so beautiful, like I live in Victoria right now, it's just absolutely stunning. But I feel like I sometimes take its beauty for granted because I get so used to it. It's almost like I'm numb to it. So
Hmm.
when you're on the road and you see all of these different landscapes, geographies, cultures, you just are able to appreciate them so much more because, in a way, they're new to you. And maybe every day you're seeing something different. So, I mean, that's probably one of my favorite reasons for traveling, just getting a new pair of eyes and seeing things anew.
Well, it's amazing too, and I think, that's, we've chatted about that a bit before in other places, just capturing, like, it's like you feel this magic every morning when you wake up and you want to go out and capture. It's like that real inner child journey too.
Yeah.
And you're just like so curious about, the landscapes and the textures and what animals you might see. And maybe,
Hmm.
the sun sets over here tonight and it's oranges, and the next day it's kind of more softer colors. And
Hmm.
and I feel like every single, like you said, every single sunrise and sunset is different. Every moon, look at the moon with its phases. Look at, the night sky, depending on where you are, looks different as well. And, and I think that's also when you're looking at, portraits. And I feel like you're capturing that with people as well as animals. You're catching them in whatever chapter they're in.
Hmm.
And maybe you work with them again, and we've worked a couple times together, and both chapters and both seasons were very different
Yeah.
captures, but and so that's fascinating too, because you're able to really um go with people and grow with people and really show up and allow them to really uncover that
Hmm.
that essence that they have, that magic, and depending on the landscape that you're choosing to be in as well. I think that really reflects in your work and your photos. So whether it's those wispy grasses, or a beautiful lake, or in the mountains, like you said, I mean, there's magic everywhere.
Hmm.
And we're in the season of rebirth and renewal now as spring starts to come, so now you really start to see the flowers blooming and the birds, and like it's like this renewed sense of wonder.
Hmm. I know. I always love the first chickadee song.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called. Oh, there's a name for it.
We
Something.
call it
What
we
do you know
used
what
to
it's called?
call we used to call them the cheeseburger birds. Cheeseburger, cheeseburger. But that's what it sounds like they're saying if you sit and listen to them. But anyways, that's not what it's called. But that's growing up, every time I would see them, my dad would always say that. So it's kind of that link to him. And I'm like, oh, hey, Dad, there's the cheeseburger birds. The spring guys are here.
Okay, well now the name of it is just completely left my mind, but there is a name for
Mhm.
that first song that the chickadees specifically sing at the beginning of spring. It does sound like cheeseburger, but it has
It's
like a name like Tweety or something.
Yeah, something different than that.
I
Ah.
like cheeseburger though. That's great.
I know it's kind of funny, and what's really neat about them, and I love doing this, is when you're out there and you can when they're talking back and forth to one another, and if you hop in there and you have the same sound, they'll actually answer you. It's hilarious. And it's like this, it's that playful piece, right? You get right into it, you can hear them and their joy, and they're like this beautiful little bird, and they're so bubbly. Like
Hmm.
it just brings they're so joyful of the season of change, of the sunshine, of the all the things, right? And they really make you feel that way,
Hmm.
and it opens up that curiosity, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, one thing I learned about chickadees and most songbirds is the reason that they sing so loudly is that's how they hold their territory. So wherever you
Oh.
can hear them singing, that's
Mhm.
um a signifier to other birds that this is their territory, and that's why they sing so loudly too. It's
Mhm.
it's to create this kind of fence around them. That's just a random fact about
Yeah.
birds.
Well, it's amazing though, because I mean, on your travels, you would witness a lot of different types of birds as well, and very often the song of the bird, the frequency that is at, is so nurturing and healing for us. If we can get out first thing in the morning, not just the sun on our faces,
Hmm.
but that song of the bird, that fresh air, there is a frequency in that is so nurturing for our mind and our body and our spirit. So it's interesting that, we're super connected to that. And when we're present, and when you're behind the camera and you're wandering along and you're capturing all of the textures and the magic and everything, that all of those pieces travel with you.
Yeah,
So,
they definitely do. And
yeah.
the chickadee brings me to another major key factor in my art is my grandma. I spent a lot of time with her growing up. She lived right next door to us, and she knew all of the birds in the yard. She could tell you who was singing, when who would come in and eat, and the birds. Honestly, she was an animal whisperer. They would come and land on her hand and eat out of her hand, and she often saved birds that had hit the window. She would,
Mhm.
help the birds with broken wings. Um, but she was one of my biggest inspirations behind my art as well. A combination of her with her just this beautiful, peaceful, loving grace, and my grandfather, who was the grittiest man I've ever met. Just this rugged outdoorsman. I mean, he once got mauled by a bear and survived it. Like the two of them together. If you go on my website or my social media, sometimes you'll see the words grit and grace. That
Yeah.
was kind of a message that was given to me after my grandparents passed away. I visited their grave, and those were the two words that they gave me and asked me to carry with me along my journey. And so that's a big inspiration behind my work. I try to capture that, the grit and the grace of each individual that I photograph.
Yeah. And not even just individual, but even each landscape has grit and grace,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And you can see that. And I just picture you going down this, dirt road with the dust flying out behind you, and you're just like wind in your hair, and you're just like there's like the gritty road and the dirt and the dust, but there's that, that brightness and that light about you too, right? So
Mhm.
it's very interesting how, and you capture it so beautifully, and intuitively, like you're on this journey, and you're just trusting and allowing that intuition and those gifts you're hearing, you're listening to
Mhm.
the gifts that were left for you, and the gifts that are still out there for you to discover. And so that brings me kind of around to these beautiful wild woman sessions. I want to know kind of your inspiration behind these, and what is it that you're really hoping to capture in these sessions, and yeah, just kind of a bit of the details in the background of that.
Okay, I love this question. I feel like I should preface it with one thought about, how the word empowerment has just been thrown around a lot lately.
Yeah.
So I find that a lot of work people do for empowerment when it comes to like women's photography, like boudoir, I don't find it incredibly empowering. um, so I suppose with my wild woman sessions, I wanted to create a really empowering portrait session that wasn't overly like sexualized.
Hmm.
I think that you can be nude and just appreciate, or partially nude, or whatever you want to do. Just appreciate the beauty of the human body and the human form and the textures and the angles and all of that without it being an overly, sexualized thing.
Hmm.
And so part of the Wild Woman sessions came out of people wanted to do this kind of more boudoir work, but I wanted to do it in a way that was just really capturing like the wildness of women without it being
Hmm.
kind of this like voyeuristic thing. Like I want it to be for the women. And then a lot of the most incredible women in my life were talking about this book called Women Who Run with the Wolves.
Yes.
You know that one?
Yeah.
So, I mean, she puts it better than I am putting it right now, but this was the biggest inspiration behind the Wild Woman sessions. I found this book every time I picked it up, it told me exactly what I needed to hear at that exact moment. I don't know if you've had a similar experience with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. um,
Yeah.
but she talks about that a lot, like how women's bodies have kind of become this like commodity in our society. Um, and she's encouraging women to take back their power.
Yeah.
Um,
it's
so
it's it's an emotional place. Like, I feel
yeah.
myself like wanting to actually cry, because I know how powerful it is to step into fully accepting and loving and nurturing all the imperfections, all the pieces, all the
Mhm,
sides, all the things, and it's not easy to do. And women of all ages and stages. It doesn't matter if you're 5 years old or you're 95, right?
mhm,
There's all these beautiful, and we just have this, and I've seen some of your photography already from this inspiration, and it's just so natural and beautiful, and I feel like you're bringing people into these nature spaces that is also holding them so sacredly, and allowing them to almost let that guard down, let that barrier down, and that judgment down.
mhm.
And it is not easy being a woman, because there is all that outside stuff that is influencing you.
Yeah.
So it is. Do you find it really emotional? Like, it must be a fairly deep journey with the person as you're going through this.
It is, yeah, and I feel really honored that anyone wants to actually enter this space with me, because
Mhm.
it's crazy how many times I have done one of these sessions with someone who, maybe they've never had their photo taken, and they're really nervous, and that's normal. I mean, I even get nervous before I get my photo taken. Like,
Yeah.
we wanna present our best selves, and the crazy part is how many times I've had people kind of like find their smile or find their laughter again in these sessions. Like they know they want to do it deep down, intuitively. They know it's something they want to do, and
Yeah.
despite being nervous about it, you know, they still try it out. And yeah, just like how many times at the beginning of the session they're so nervous, and we just get to know each other. We kind of like play around outside in the elements. And they find this part of themselves that they didn't even realize was there. Maybe she was like
Mhm.
tapping inside,
Yeah.
um, trying to get out. Uh, and then
Let me
just
be
kind of,
seen. Let me be seen, please.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of in the book, Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. Um, that's what she talks about, how every woman has this wild woman inside of them. She's kind of like this, it's almost like you have this inner being that it just knows exactly what you need, even if your ego gets in the way, even if your past wounds get in the way. So what I'm trying to do is just kind of creating this space where people can explore this inner wild woman, if that makes sense.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful, and I've always thought, I mean, it would be great to, I'm like, oh, boudoir. No, I could never do that. I can't. That's not me. Like it's
Yeah.
interesting because there's some people that it's phenomenal and they're able to, and then there's other people who are like maybe more reserved or maybe more like they it's not that they're closed in, but they keep everything fairly close. Like there's that safety piece too, right? And I see that even in the work I do and as
Hmm.
well. And I mean, I do photography behind, so I'm behind the lens too, and capturing that journey of someone. And like you said, you're capturing this unfolding of this, there's always that piece, that part of us that wants to come out and
Hmm.
play and explore and, have fun and whether we're wandering in the water or through the woods or hugging the trees or laying in a beautiful field in the wide open by the mountains,
Hmm.
or maybe we're doing a cold plunge into the ocean or something, and so it's really beautiful, those transformative moments. And you as a photographer, you get to see that. It's like that, that lotus flower that works so hard in the muck and the yuck, but beneath the surface for so long, and as it comes out and blooms, we're just in awe. And we're like,
Hmm.
wow, we have this unwavering respect for it. And it's just, it holds such a significance. And I feel like we have that too,
Hmm.
through all of our layers and the darkness and the light and all the pieces comes out. And we don't even know what exactly is going to come out in the session. And
Yeah.
we're also, as we're trying, and I've trusted you twice. I'm going, oh my God, she doesn't know me. How's she going to capture what my vision is? And it is scary because you're trusting someone else with the most intimate parts of you, if that makes any sense.
Hmm.
With your heart, with your vision, with your dream. Yeah, there we go. See, now I can't even. I'm like, but it's big, and
Yeah.
like it's it's such a big trust. It's like we're falling into your space, and you're holding it,
Hmm.
and you're holding this beautiful container for us to be in as women
Hmm.
and girls and grandmothers and mothers and all aunts and all of these sisters and everything. Ooh, my sister's coming to the retreat. This
Oh,
could
that's
be interesting.
exciting.
So you're going to offer a few of these sessions at the spring retreat, and so now people kind of get an idea of what that means. So hopefully we're gonna set a little bit of time aside in this retreat so that you can, if anyone is interested, to go on that journey to that discovery of that part of themselves that they never knew,
Hmm. No,
right?
I'm so excited, and it's such a beautiful venue too. I'm so excited to get out in nature there, like by the water. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be magical.
It's really magical. And that beach right below that we're beachfront is called Welcome Beach.
Oh,
So
love that.
it's amazing, right? And there's rocks and trees and the big beautiful tree that's right up by the yurt is over 600 years old. So it's got this wisdom to it, and they've got
Mhm.
beautiful gardens and all kinds of things that we can tuck away in. And
Yeah.
so um yeah, so if somebody is looking for you to do some photography, what is like the easiest way for them to touch base, to find you, to say, hey, Hailey, I'm scared to death, but I'm so intrigued, I want to go on a journey with you, can you help me? What's the best way to do that?
I usually recommend going through my website. I have a
Okay.
contact form which I have conveniently placed on every single page of my website in case you get
Perfect.
lost.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, you can toggle down and select Wild Woman sessions, and then you can just ask me any questions you want on there.
Okay.
Also, if anyone wants to reach out over social media, like Instagram, Facebook, I'm
Okay.
available that way as well. Yeah.
Awesome. And do you travel quite a bit for like, do you have, I know you come up north a few times a year, so you gather people who are up north and they get to sign
Mhm.
up. So do you kind of go other places and let people know that you're going to be there and you're going to be there for a certain amount of time and you've got some time slots for them? Is that kind of something that you are updating constantly as well?
Yeah, I mean, usually I make some sort of announcement before I'm going somewhere.
Yeah.
I would like to in the future go to more places in BC, and set up kind of like days of sessions. That'd be something in the future, but for now, I'm mostly on Vancouver Island, and then I head up to northern BC. But I also do book things on this road trip. So along the road, I will, if I'm passing through specific cities,
Yeah.
I'll book sessions there too. As you
So
know, we once
yeah.
booked a session while I was on the road. That was fun.
Right? I know, that was awesome. And we happened to catch nice fresh snow and it was awesome.
It
So
was perfect.
which is nice, right? And if you know, if you got somebody in say 100 Mile House and there's a cool place to stop, or you've got, you know,
I love
wherever it
100
might
Mile.
be, right? Yeah. Like it's kind of that old kind of country, you know, feel, or
Yeah.
you got Clinton before that, which is really
Yep.
super cool too, right? It's like you're back in time. So
I usually stop in 100 Mile to take pictures of all of the old ranches anyway. So,
yeah,
yeah, if anyone's in 100 Mile, please
right? Exactly.
connect.
So and you're coming up this way in middle of May, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
mid May till end of the month. Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Cool. And so, and you hang out on Instagram and your website, Facebook. I'm pretty sure you're on TikTok for those who want to hop on
Oh,
there.
I mean,
Ish.
you can find me on there, but
You're not on there a lot.
not
No,
really. No.
no. I think Instagram kind of is where you hang out the most. I think I feel that
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah.
where we chat too. So
Mhm.
yeah,
I'm
cool.
on there quite a bit. There's quite a community on there that I found. Yeah.
Yeah, there is, and it's great too. Like it's just fun to, you know, people can kind of go there and kind of get to know a bit about your journey and where
Mhm.
you are, what you're doing, all those kinds of things too, and sample your work, which is really fun as well.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
like it as a portfolio. I find Instagram is really accessible for everybody. I mean,
yeah,
I have a portfolio on my website as well, but more people, I would say, browse Instagram.
they do. It seems like same with my stuff as well. So it's the
Hmm.
same. So if there was somebody out there and they're just like, oh, I'm so intrigued, but I'm scared to death. If you had some advice for women who, or even men who are really ready to, you know, to discover this inner piece that's just wanting to jump out and wanting to go on a journey,
Hmm.
and they're wanting somebody to capture that, what is something that, you know, would maybe help them to, you know, reach out to you and make a phone call or send an email and say, you know, hey, can I sign up?
Hmm. One thing I was thinking about is how it might be intimidating to do a photo shoot with a stranger, but at the same time, when I meet you, I'm not seeing any of these preconceived ideas about you. I'm just seeing you for who you are, right? Like I
Yeah.
can kind of pick up on your energy and your essence. And so I think there's a lot of freedom in that too, because in our session you can escape anything that's been holding you back, and you can just kind of dive into who you really are, who you want to be. Um, Everybody gets a little bit nervous for photo shoots, like I said. That's
Yeah.
completely normal, but once you actually get into it, it's so fun. Like you just get into such a flow um that I'd say most people are really sad when it's over. They're like,
And
"Oh, what?" Like,
yeah,
that hour or whatever, it flew by. Um
it it does, and it's such a beautiful journey though. Like it's
mhm,
magic. It
mhm,
really is. And like you said, I love that because we carry all these versions with us and we're like, oh, we don't want everybody to know. And, every time I
mhm.
go away from up north and I go somewhere and I do a retreat, I'm like, I'm so empowered when I come home because I get to go to that retreat and be me.
Yeah.
Not me that grew up here, not all the versions, not the horse girl, not this, not that, just Raya.
Mhm.
And, I felt that too, even, with the two sessions that you and I did. I can just be who I am in that moment, that,
Yeah.
playful, heart-led person. And I'm like, and you captured it. I allowed you to capture it. I grew up with photography all around me, and I feel like even now it's just a whole new side. And I think that's really empowering for people to know that. And
Yeah.
you hold an intuitive space. If there's no judgment, it's loving and nurturing and safe and fun and goofy, and you've got a great sense of humor. So I think those are all the pieces that really help people to land and
Mhm.
to bloom in that space.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get in the river with you, I'll hop in the ocean
Right?
with you.
Well, be
Yeah.
ready for that when you're down on the Sunshine Coast. Be ready for the water this time. Last time.
I will.
Oh,
Yeah, it was a
that
little
was
cold.
it was cold, but you know what? It was awesome. It was awesome. Kicking off your cowgirl boots and rolling up your jeans and coming in with me. It was awesome. And it was just, it was really being in the moment of being really present in nature, in the water and the slippery rocks, and hoping that you weren't going to land in the water with your camera. But it was really fun, and then the sun shining through the trees, and I was playing my sound bowl, and we were just really like nothing else was around us. It really really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, I thank you for your gifts and for your inspiration and just for being able to share this journey with you and coming to retreat. I think I might have you on the paper for the fall retreat as well. So I hope that will work out for us. And that's
Mhm.
a whole other chapter there. But thank you for sharing space and for just allowing us to get to know who you are a bit more. And if everybody's curious, go and check out Haley's beautiful photography and all the spaces. And don't hesitate to just sign up and be curious. Do a quick discovery call and find out if it's right for you on this journey. So
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you so much,
Yeah.
Ryan. It's been
Oh,
an absolute pleasure.
it's been amazing. Thank you.